Former Assistant Chief Reginald Cooper and Lieutenant Darrell Clark say they were fired for reporting alleged corruption to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. These former officers say they want to clear their name once and for all. Over the past few decades, they say they've made claims of insurance fraud by the former chief of police, forgery of test documents by a sergeant, a cover-up by the Hall administration of a police chase gone bad, and reporting a hostile workplace environment.
Working there was like walking on eggshells because you never knew when they were going to try to discipline you just because of your race.
For years, Cooper and Clark claimed the Alexandria Police Department has had a racial divide that was outstanding.
If a black officer called in sick, they would send someone to their house to make sure they were sick and that they were at home and wasn't leaving home that day. Whereas white officers, I've seen incidents where they called in sick and they went deer hunting and they came back and laughed and joked about it in roll call with the supervisor, and nothing was done to them.
They allege the black officer referred for calling in sick was fired. Both claim being called racial slurs and unfair treatment became a norm for black officers in the department, especially those speaking out.
We were listed as the Color Coalition, us 4 officers that made a complaint. We were singled out because we were speaking out against the treatment that we were receiving from other officers and even administration itself.
Cooper was the first African-American assistant chief in the history of APD.
Once I got in that position, I quickly learned that they didn't want me involved. The chief, the commissioner, and others in power.
This would have been the first time 4 African Americans would hold high-ranking positions. As they started moving up in ranks, they'd hoped to change the department's environment.
When we figured that at one point we were going to get to the top, and we would be able to make changes within the department that would stop all that.
But they say the administration was set on diminishing their roles.
Basically, I just had the title of an assistant chief. I wasn't allowed to implement or run anything within the department.
Bypassing them and going straight to their colleagues.
My subordinate would get the information before I get it. Any investigations were started. It went through him. I never knew anything.
Upon joining APD, they say they wanted to bring transparency to the department. The 4 officers who allegedly went to authorities for said misconduct and use of excessive force say they went to an attorney to seek guidance.
Anyone that's in a position of authority, and they were, that knows some unconstitutional violation has taken place, and they don't do anything to report it to law enforcement, if they're supervisors, then they can be held liable.
After taking their attorney's advice, they say they became the laughingstock of the department.
We started being joked about. We were circumvented through the chain of command.
Following filing their complaints to HR, both were called to be interviewed.
They wanted to know, who did we talk to? And we told them we talked to the FBI. Dara made the statement then. That was a grave mistake. You shouldn't have done that.
Both former officers say they believe their fate was sealed the moment they opened their mouths, resulting in the demotion and/or termination of the 4 officers that allegedly reported what they believed was excessive force by a former officer to the FBI. In complaints obtained by ABC 31, Clark alleges the city originally were punishing them for going to the FBI, but then things switched up when they realized the former officers could be protected under the Whistleblower Act.
They changed what they were seeking to eliminate or discharge or punish for from being disclosing it to the FBI to looking for other instances, something else that they could find.
The complaint alleges Clark was fired from the department for allegedly misusing information systems, but he feels this was retaliation. These reports claiming officers weren't really taking the test. The sergeant in charge was allegedly signing off on them to receive grant money for the department. Both Cooper and Clark claim to have been through numerous chiefs and multiple mayors without ever being investigated. However, under Hall's administration, they feel as though they were being targeted by former Chief Jared King.
So to stick with this department from 1988 for 33 years, make it all the way to assistant chief without any blemishes, and because I reported something to the FBI that I knew was wrong, for them to fire me has really been disheartening.
Although they say the heat was turned up, the battle is still not over. Both don't seem to regret coming forward.
Was it worth it?
If your question is, say, would I do it all again? I would do it again.
Miranda Thomas, ABC 31 News, that works for you.